Hi everyone, and welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in to You Have a Cool Job, episode number 39. From Petersons, I'm your host, Taylor Sienkiewicz, and you're listening to a podcast highlighting those who took their profession in a unique direction and what they did to get there. On this week's episode of You Have a Cool Job, our podcast guest works with computer hacking. But don't worry, he isn't the bad guy. Mike Harris is a consultant who finds weaknesses in a company by attempting to hack the system as a hacker would. In other words, he's an ethical hacker. But Mike's job title is fluid, as he explains that he is a sort of jack of all trades when it comes to the computer security field.
As of more recent, I think it's just easier going with consultant. Because it opens up the field a lot more. Mm-hmm. If I come in saying I'm a security consultant, all they're going to expect is a vulnerability scan or a pen test. Mm-hmm. Saying I'm a consultant and I have experiences in the following areas, like I have a lot of Red Hat, a lot of Linux experience, a lot of back-end server experience. So just coming in as a consultant usually works a whole lot better.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, cybersecurity has gotten a lot of media attention lately.
Yeah, right.
So where did you start your journey in this field, and how has it changed since you got into all of this?
Yeah, great question. It was in Las Vegas, I'd say officially about 10 or 15 years ago in Las Vegas. I was working as a network admin for just a small company. They make just random hardware for random things. And I went to a Linux user group, a lug. So I don't know if you know what a lug is, but they're kind of little meetings, little get-togethers of Linux users, and they can talk to other people. But I met what ended up being a really good friend at one of these, and he's like, "Hey, come work with me." I'm like, "Okay, where you at?" He's like, "Oh, I'm in the Department of Energy." I'm like, "Oh, cool. Can I get a lower energy bill or something? I mean, what's my advantage for Department of Energy, right?" He's like, No, not quite like that. We control the nukes. I'm like, "Oh, okay." So ended up getting my Q clearance, which is a security clearance on the Department of Energy. It's equivalent to the top secret clearance with DoD. And yeah, I just kind of started doing security administration stuff, started working on projects for various engineers and various project managers to build up what we were doing. We were monitoring various DOE sites for security risks, and so we were just building up the program for that.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was my first step truly into security. So there had been just some fun stuff at home, but nothing too serious until I got into the Department of Energy.
Of course, I had to ask Mike what it means to get top government security clearance.
It's different. So it varies based upon president and current status of things and everything. So for me, it was a matter of you write down your entire history, your 10-year history, and that's like neighbors you had 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Neighbors, friends, just about everything's in there. And it's on a form called the SF-86. So it's filling out that form, and then they go around and interview various people you list in that document.
Okay.
So that's all fine and good dandy until that database gets breached, like it did 3 years ago with the OPM data breach. So my SF-86 information is out there, I'm not saying freely available, but it's out there. Whoever's got it, and I've had the credit monitoring from government provided credit monitoring for several years now, and everybody in my family. So as I said, it's 10 years. So it's family members, it's next door neighbors you had 10 years ago, it's friends, you got a list of friend and a neighbor and everything for the past 10 years. So it's so much information.
Yeah.
And it's just all gone.
It's all
out there.
personal information.
Yeah, it's all out there now.
Mm-hmm. That's scary. Mm-hmm. When I was doing some research on Mike's career before talking with him, it stuck out to me the plethora of different industries he's worked in. From work with the government, to the automobile industry, to the medical industry, Mike seems to have done it all. I asked why he chose to cast such a large net in his career.
To be honest, it doesn't matter. Everybody needs computer security. Any of these places that are becoming, they have a central foundation of computers, and so everybody needs to secure it.
Yeah.
Some people can specialize, like, there's guys out there that are HIPAA specialists, so they'll go work for the healthcare companies. And then there's guys out there that might be specialists with like energy stuff, like they have special systems. So there's people involved with that, and there's interesting people that get involved with different certain pieces all along.
Yeah.
I was always kind of a generalist, for better or worse. Whatever you pick up in the breadth, you lose in depth. Mm-hmm. So hopefully haven't lost too much depth, but I think I've got a pretty wide breadth of experience with everything I've done.
We'll get back to Mike's story right after this. Are you searching for the right college, grad school, or trade school to fit your needs? Or are you studying for those entrance exams you need a good score on? Petersons has you covered. With advanced college and scholarship search functions, test prep for everything from the SAT to the MCAT to the firefighter exams, and tons of free resources on our blog, Petersons helps you find, get in, and pay for school, plus much more. Visit petersons.com today. And now, back to the show. As I mentioned earlier in the episode, issues in cybersecurity have come up a lot in recent years. I asked Mike if his job has changed at all due to this.
It's changed from the aspect, like, say the CEO now sees stuff that he wouldn't normally see, like something, a CIO might normally involve himself in. But if these big events are big and public, and you see stuff about, the latest SSL vulnerability on CNN, mm-hmm. then the CEO is going to hear about it, and then he's going to go to the CIO, and the CIO is going to come down and be like, hey, what are we doing about this latest SSL vulnerability, or what are we doing about this next thing? Mm-hmm. And so it's pretty interesting. It gives you more visibility, I'll say that for sure. Yeah. So supposedly there's a huge cybersecurity shortage, mm-hmm. but at the same time, there's companies not even looking at me because I haven't had anything on my resume that looks as cybersecurity to them in the past 3 years. It's all very interesting.
Yeah.
So I think what is also a factor is where you live. Mm-hmm. So I think most of the jobs are going to be kind of around larger areas. So Denver, Colorado Springs is large enough, but I think it's going to be kind of a city-based thing that's going to be important for people.
I had an image of Mike hunched over a computer pretending to be a double agent when he works, but thought I should get the real story. I asked Mike what his job looks like when he goes to meet with a client and delivers his product.
It's kind of interesting, and you come up with these rules of engagement, and you do that before you begin the actual engagement with the customer. So you make sure you have a clear outline of what you can attack, what you can't attack, what's off limits, and what you can do, what you can't do. So that may include, stuff as far as the physical aspect. It may be sneaking their data center. It may be finding employees on LinkedIn, mm-hmm. and just emailing them and chatting with them. So it's important to get a scope to figure out what you're going to go after. So every investigation or every contract usually begins with that. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times I suggest, open source intelligence, which is a big thing. So that's looking up people on Google. That's looking up the company information. It's looking up building plans. It's looking up anything you can about the company online. So it may be contacting people, that may be slightly more than intelligence, but it could be a whole lot of things. It's really fun, and you don't even have to have conversations with the company at this time. It's just working the outside angle, and generally, you can start 2 to 4 weeks out and just begin with the open source intelligence, and you don't have to be on site for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you started your own company a few years ago, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. So, and that's I wish I'd done a lot more with it. I wish I could say, as my sole source of income and everything. I've got it there just so I can do different things with it. For any work that comes in, it allows me to, have people write checks to the company. It gives me a little bit of legitimacy. I got insurance with the company. So it all works out. But yeah, it's not my sole source of income yet. So
right.
There's people that put in the legwork, that put in the networking work, and then there's people like me that can't or don't or have anxieties about people. So, one of those things of not being an extrovert but being an introvert, it's really hard to network with people.
Yeah, just to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
So what is your main source of income?
My main source of income is I'm working as a senior consultant with Red Hat, who just got purchased a day or two ago by IBM.
Okay, great. So how much time do you spend working? Do you work there full time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
How much time do you spend working there then versus working on your own company?
Yeah, so again, I wish I could say I put a lot of time in my company, but it ends up being about 5 hours a week. I usually spend on my company unless something big comes in, but usually 5 hours or less. And that's just the way my life goes.
Right. I'd say that's fair.
Yeah.
But then after working for a bunch of different fields like you did, or in a bunch of different companies, what was it like to be able to have your own thing, to have it there alongside?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And it puts a lot of stuff into perspective for you. So, as an employee, at times you may be like, why did my boss ever choose this contract? Or, why are we doing this? This is an awful decision. And you, at times you may question, management above you. So going into your own business, you get to see, maybe that's why he did it. Maybe they just needed a good source of income, and this source of business was a steady stream, and it just worked out, and maybe that's why they accepted it. You put yourself in a lot of the different scenarios that you get a little more perspective on.
Yeah, definitely. So Mike, what excites you about your job?
Everything. I'm a computer nerd. People ask me what I do for fun. I'm like, I don't know. Computer stuff. So I spend a lot of time with my family. I do goofy stuff with my family. I went swimming today. I went biking yesterday. So outside of my family, I'm a computer nerd, and it's doing random things at home, random projects. Right now, I'm working on some hardware projects. I've got a project where I'm building a power supply out of hardware pieces. I've got several computer projects. I'm upgrading my home networking gear. I'm doing 20 things at once, and nothing's getting completed.
Because Mike is passionate about computers and computer security, he teaches classes on these topics. He actually gave one just last week.
I give a class on, it's called Remediations and Penetration. So I kind of give a blue team aspect, which are the defenders, and then I give a red team aspect, which are the attackers. So I kind of break it up. I've worked in both areas. I live, as I said, I'm kind of cross-domain in my training and so forth. So I've got experience in both areas, and I was able to talk about those and kind of aim the class in the direction they wanted to go and talk about the different things they wanted to talk about and kind of get them started down the right path.
Yeah. What inspired you to start teaching other people about computers and software?
So that's a great question. I think I never had really any inspiration. And it's not like blaming my family or anybody. I moved around a fair amount when I was a kid, so I never had a really set of solid friends. So in high school, around 15 or 16, my mom got a new computer, and I started playing around with like Linux and different stuff. And so popping a disk in, I don't know, I'm just deep down a nerd.
Despite his self-proclaimed nerd status, Mike has a unique educational path that is more fueled by his interests than linear in the education system.
I got my associate's degree in, it's actually just business management, just because it was just the school I was going to for my associate's degree. And I haven't got my bachelor's degree yet, but I've been to enough school that they should get an honorary doctoral for the amount of hours I have in the multiple different areas.
Right.
Because it's one of those things that it took me a while to decide. So first entering school, I was in criminal justice. I'm like, oh, this isn't for me. Then went engineering and decided I didn't like the math as much. Then computer science, and I was like, oh, there's still math here. So I started going like the information systems and the business management route.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I ended up. And so I'm not like the really strong programmer type. That's the thing. In different areas, there's so many different types of people. So you can't just say, you're a computer hacker, you're a security analyst, or you're a security engineer. Like, there's very specific roles that people are good at. So there might be vulnerability testers that are excellent at web app testing. There might be vulnerability testers that are just flat out network guys that go after the network systems. There might be computer systems guys, and the list just goes on.
Yeah.
And it's just so crazy, the number of areas. So you might be like, well, I'm not going into computer security. I've been doing storage all my life. There's an area for that. So if you're interested, all you have to do is take the step over and you can get involved with security. Okay.
Cool.
And as I said, I used to love YouTube, and they implemented their new policy, but DEF CON's coming up in August. It's kind of the global hacker meetup. It's in Las Vegas every year, so that's coming up in August. I believe it's August 8th, but double check the website, defcon.org.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the global meetup for hackers, so that's coming up.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like what you do is a lot more about experience and just being able to work with it on your own time because you enjoy doing it. So how would you advise somebody to get into your field?
Yeah, and that's hard. So I went the roundabout way, and now I've like done a loop and a curly Q and a question mark. I've done all kinds of stuff. So I went about it all the wrong way. So I definitely recommend studying in school. There's plenty of stuff kids can do in school. So each year I take part in the Rocky Mountain Collegiate Cyber Defense. Oh, I'm misquoting its name. It's RMCCDC, but it's a setup for college students to come in, and we act as the hackers. They act as the defenders, and they have to defend the network from us. And so you can come in and volunteer. You can be a red teamer. That means you can come in and tag. You can be a white teamer, and that's you give general information to the teams. You can be on the gold team, which is a scoring element of it. Yeah. You can come in and do anything. So college level, get involved with the CCDC, and it's all across the United States. It's split up regionally, but your university can get involved with that. So that's definitely one area, pre-graduation you can get involved with for sure. Meetup, there's all kinds of local groups. I really appreciate the OWASP group, the Open Web Application Standard. There's a long phrase for that one too. So there's an OWASP group. They have either a monthly or bi-monthly meetup. There's various hacking groups you can look up on Meetup that might have interesting stuff. In the Denver area, there's a hacker space downtown. There's all kinds of stuff you can do and get involved with. And there's a lot of hackers from Denver and, a lot of people in the area that are kind of good to know as well. So
it sounds like it's a lot of a social thing. Like with having meetups and, like making it a team of like red team, blue team.
It is. That's a great point. So maybe that's a computer nerds or the introvert speaking as an introvert. Yeah. Maybe that's our way of getting out of that. Yeah. That's us escaping it is my guess.
Right.
So through our meetups and and the other part is everybody else is like us. So, you walk in, you're going to be in a group of, potentially 35 introverts, maybe. But regardless, if you're an introvert, if you're extrovert, there's always going to be somebody cool, somebody to meet, somebody to talk to.
Mike is part of not only a career field, but a type of subculture. We hope you're inspired by Mike's story to find people to connect with on your passions too. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.